This dynamic report uses just 4 Excel formulas, no pivot tables, no macros, and it updates itself forever. I add a new country, it's there. New category, it's there. New orders are automatically included and every total recalculates. If you're the person who rebuilds the same report every week or every month, updating drop-downs, editing formula ranges, you're doing hours of work that 4 formulas can completely replace. Let me show you how to build it step by step, and if you want, you can download the free practice file in the description or pinned comment. I'm using a sales dataset for this video. There's 250 or so orders categorized by region, country, category, product, channel, salesperson, units, unit price, and revenue. Don't tune out if you don't work in sales. Everything I'm about to show you works exactly the same for any list-based data: employees and departments, projects and clients, invoices and vendors. Okay, before we touch a formula, let's get organized because how you set up a report matters as much as the formulas inside it. I'll start by formatting my data in an Excel table on the Home tab, Format as Table, and I'm just going to use this light style here, but you can choose something that suits your theme or even create a custom style. My table has headers, click OK, and then on the Table Design tab, I'm just going to rename this table Sales Data. Press Enter, and that job's done. Now it's a good idea to always keep your data and your report on separate sheets. So in the interest of time, I've got a sheet already set up, but you can add a new sheet by clicking the plus icon here. I'm going to double click and rename this sheet Report. Now, if we look at the completed report, you can see it has 3 parts: the data sheet, and then on the report sheet, we've got the report itself and the workings or helper cells and columns. Beginners often put everything in one place, which gets messy. A better approach is to have your data on its own sheet and then helper cells on another sheet that can be hidden so the report stays clean. But for this video, you can see I'm breaking that rule by putting my helper cells off to the side of my report, and this is so we can see them while we write the formulas. Just keep in mind that you should put them on a working sheet. Now the first thing we need is a list of the countries sorted in alphabetical order. That's going to feed our first drop-down list. And while you could grab the countries from the data, paste them as values, then go to the Data tab, remove duplicates. I don't have a header, so let's deselect that. Click OK, and now I need to sort them from A to Z and so on and so forth. If you add a new country to your source data, you've got to run through all these steps again manually. And that's way too much work. So let's go back to the blank file and I'll show you a better way. So I'm going to put my country list here, and I'm going to use the unique function to reference my sales data country column. And because I've formatted my data in an Excel table, all I need to do is hover my mouse above the column header until it turns into the down arrow, left click once, and it's all selected. Press Enter, and there's my list of distinct country names. You can see the unique function spills the list, and we get that blue border to show the spilled array. And of course, because it's a formula, if I go back to my sales data, let's go down to the next row and we'll add a new country. Let's go back to the report. You can see Italy is now included. No more updating that formula. Let me Control Z to get rid of Italy, because the next thing I want to do is sort this. We can do that with the sort function. So we're just wrapping the whole unique formula in the sort function. And now that they're sorted in alphabetical order, it'll just make it easier to work with in my drop-down list. Let's do the same for the category list. Equals unique. We're going to reference the category column, hover the mouse till it turns into the down arrow, left click once, press Enter. And don't forget we want to sort it up in the formula bar. You can also add sort up here, press Enter, and there's our sorted list of categories. With those 2 jobs done, we're ready to add our drop-down lists. The first one is country and category. To add a drop-down list, select the cell you want the list in, then on the Data tab of the ribbon, Data Validation. Here I want to allow a list, and the source is going to be my country list here. But instead of selecting all the cells, I'm just going to reference the first cell in my spilled array and then append the hash symbol. The hash symbol tells Excel to return all the spilled results, so I never need to update this reference again. The list grows, the drop-down grows, the list shrinks, the drop-down shrinks. By the way, if you want to learn more about the hash symbol and other important Excel symbols, I've got a video dedicated to it and you can watch it by clicking the link at the top right. Okay, let's repeat for the category dropdown, data validation, list. The source is just the first cell followed by the hash sign. Click OK and that job's done. Let's choose electronics and for the country, we'll choose USA. Next, we'll use the filter function, and it's one of those features that changes how you use Excel straight away, but it's just one of many. Excel is full of small techniques like this that save time and simplify your work. Most people never learn them properly. They pick up bits and pieces and stick with slower manual ways of doing things. That's why I created my Excel Expert course. It brings together the most useful tools and shows you how to use them in a logical step-by-step way, so you're not guessing what to learn next. Students often tell me they're working faster, taking on more complex tasks, and being relied on more in their roles. If you want to build that kind of skill set, you'll find the course linked in the description and pinned comment. Plus, all courses are currently 20% off until May 14, and there's a 30-day guarantee if you want to try them out. Now this is the main event. Filter is the function that does the heavy lifting in any dynamic report. It takes two things, the data you want back and the condition it has to match. I'll start by grabbing the headers from my source data because they're going to also be used in my report, and paste them in here. Let's go and add an underline. I'm going to use the filter function to extract my sales data. So the array is my sales data table. Now to select the table, place your cursor in the top left until it turns into the diagonal down arrow, left click once, and you can see in the formula bar it's using the table name sales data. Perfect. Comma. The next argument of filter, let's just bring the tooltip up, is what you want to include. This is my criteria and they're entered as logical tests. I have two criteria, so I need to enter them inside parentheses. The first one is where my sales data country equals the country selected in my report. Close parentheses on that one. Then I'm going to multiply the first criteria by the second, and we'll come back to why we do this in a moment. The next criteria is where the category equals the category selected in the drop-down here. Close parentheses on my second criteria, comma. The next argument in filter is what to return if no results are found. So we can return another formula or just some text. I'm going to just return the text, no results found. Close parentheses on filter, press enter, and with that, filter returns the rows from the sales data table that match the country and category selected in the drop-down. Now, to explain how this filter criteria works, let's go to the sales data, and I'm going to enter the formulas just beside it. So our first criteria was where the country equals the country selected in the drop-down here. Press enter. You can see for every row, it's returning a true or false result. True where the country matches, false where it doesn't. And then we did the same for the category, where the category equals the category selected here. Press enter. And then we multiplied the two logical tests. And here I'm going to use the hash to reference the whole spilled array, multiplied by the next logical test's spilled array. Press enter. And now I have a series of zeros and ones. 0, where either result was false, and 1, only where both results were true. And filter simply returns the rows where both results are true, or the logical tests multiplied together evaluate to 1. And once you understand this technique, you can use it in other functions like SumProduct and more. And here's another tip. If you ever need or instead of and, simply change the multiplication to plus. True plus false is 1, so it keeps the row. All right, let's delete those, and we'll go back to our report, because there's one thing that's not ideal. If I change my country to Japan, that's all good, Japan has electronics, but if we change the category to accessories, there's no results found. It'd be better if we only give the user the categories which Japan has available. So let's use the filter function to only return categories in our list relevant to each country. So instead of just referencing the sales data category, we're going to wrap it in filter. We're filtering the sales data category where the country equals the country selected here. Close parentheses on filter. So now we've got 3 closing parentheses. Press enter, and now our category list only returns electronics for Japan. Let's choose Mexico. Mexico has accessories and office, so we need to change electronics here and choose one that Mexico has. So what we've built here is a dependent drop-down list. That is, the category list is dependent on the country selected. Now this filter table is useful, but let's turn this into a report with summary numbers at the top. These are key facts your reader needs at a glance before they even look at the detail. For this report, I want to highlight the top sales performer. So I need the headers top sales rep, units, and revenue. And let's give that an underline. Now for the formula, I'm going to write it over here where I have more space so you can see the individual steps, and then I'll move it back up to the top of the report. The first thing I need to do is group the orders and sales revenue by salesperson, and we can use the group by function to do that. The first argument of group by is what row fields you want to group by. I want to group by the salesperson, so I'm going to use the CHOOSECOLS function to reference my spilled array here. So remember, we reference a spilled array with the hash sign, and return the column the salesperson is in, which we can see is column 7. That's the rows I want to group by. Next, group by wants to know which columns I want to summarize. So again, we'll use CHOOSECOLS to reference my spilled array here. And this time I want columns 8 and 10. Close parentheses on CHOOSECOLS. Next, group by wants to know how I want to aggregate these values. Well, I want to sum them, so I'm just going to tab to insert sum. Now it wants to know if I have field headers. No, you can see I haven't included the headers in my range being referenced by CHOOSECOLS, so that's 0. And do I want totals? No, I don't need totals either. Let's close parentheses and press enter here and see what we have so far. Now group bys return 2 results, and they're sorted in alphabetical order based on the first column. Let's edit the formula and make use of the next argument, which is the sort order. Remember, I want the top salesperson by sales revenue, so I want to sort by the third column in my group by results, but I want to sort them in descending order, so that's -3. Press enter, and now we have Sarah Chen listed first. Now, I only want the first row returned by group by, so I'm going to wrap it in the take function. So take wants the array, that's my group by formula, and then it wants to know which rows. Well, I only want the first row, so that's 1. Close parentheses on take. Press enter. There's my results. Let's cut this formula out and we'll paste it in up here. Job done. Except let's handle errors by wrapping our whole formula in the IFERROR function. That way, if we get no results here, this formula won't return an error. We're going to return a blank instead, denoted by 2 double quotes. Close parentheses, and that's it. 4 formulas that all work together to dynamically build this report. Let's go and add some new data. I'll go to the bottom of the table. Let's copy this record for USA because that's what our current filters are. And I'm just going to paste it at the bottom of the table like we've added a new record. Let's go back, and you can see as you add new data, it automatically gets included. And your users can select items from the drop-downs to focus in on the data that they want to see. Now, before you go build your own, there's 3 quick warnings. The first is the spilled error. If you ever see this, it means something is blocking where your dynamic array wants to expand. Usually it's a stray value in a cell below your formula. And we can see that with the X here. Delete whatever's in the way and it fills back in. Second, dynamic arrays do not play nicely with data formatted in Excel tables. So let's Control T and format this in a table. Again, we get the same spill error. I'll Control Z to undo that. Just know that tables are not compatible with spilled array formulas. And lastly, most of the functions used in this report and the hash symbol trick only work with more modern versions of Excel. If your functions don't appear in the IntelliSense when you type them in, then it's time to upgrade. Honestly, it is worth it. You're missing a lot more than just these functions. Get those 3 things right, and this setup works exactly the way it should. This report is just one thing Excel can do for you automatically. There are at least 8 more you're probably doing by hand every single week. So click here to keep watching. I'll see you there.